Hey everybody, Matt Covey from Suburban K9. Today I'm going to show you how we train a dog on a remote collar. So I'm using a Dogtra 280X. This is my new favorite collar on the market, but this applies to any collar. Come here, Dashy. So you saw one of the horses just chase the dog off a little bit. Come here, buddy. Good job. So I did not use the collar there, but I'm going to in a minute and I'll explain to you what I'm doing. So these collars have a lot of functionality. This one has a tone, a vibration, and also a stim function, which is a correction. You can use them in a variety of ways. So the tone and the vibration we use interchangeably. So to us, it's a pager. We're calling the dog to us with that. Now, some people will use the pager as like the vibration as a warning. So it's kind of like a threat. It's like, hey, you didn't really listen. So, I'm going to push this. And if you don't listen, maybe you're going to get in big trouble in a few minutes here. We don't do it that way for a couple reasons, and one of the big ones is the vibration should be a good thing, so I'm going to push it now as I call the dog. Dash, come. Good boy, buddy. Come on, Dash. Dash, come. Good job. Hey, sit. Good. Free. So the vibration is meant to be a good thing, so you saw I called him there, and I don't know if it was on camera, but one of the horses chased him off a little bit. The big thing with the vibration is it really gets their attention, so it works from up to a half mile with this collar, so it could be they're far enough away they can't hear you. But also there, he had a horse running towards him. There's a lot going on, so as I called him and I pushed the vibration, it really catches his attention and helps him think about me. Now, we don't use it as a threat because I want it to be a good thing. You can always correct with an e-collar if you need to. I don't see the reason for having two separate corrections because the stim is very highly adjustable. You can go from like a tiny correction all the way up to a pretty stern one if you need to. So I want the vibration to be a fun, good thing. Now, as I do it, all I do is I call the dog, and as I say come, I say their name, and as I say come, I push the pager button. That's it. When you're training, and I've got a full video on this, which I'm going to link to in the description, take your time acclimating to the vibration. A lot of dogs are terrified the first time they feel it. They don't know it's supposed to be a good thing. They have no idea. They just feel this vibration happen around their neck and they might run off. So what I do is I'll show the dog a treat. I'll get them excited. And then I'll say, the dog's name and come as I push the vibration. And then just from a couple feet, have them sit and give it to them. Do that for at least one session, maybe two. So you really, kind of cement in the dog's mind, this is a fun thing. All right, so after I shot this video, I realized I missed a key point. And as you guys know, I wing these videos. I don't use a script, and I don't like to do a lot of editing, so sometimes I miss something important. In this video, I did not explain that the e-collar is to be used once your dog already understands a command, so we layer it on top. For the come command, what I mean is if your dog can't be in a fenced area, let's just say your backyard, if your dog cannot be off leash in the yard and you call him to you and have him come pretty much every single time, then you're not ready for the e-collar. And the reason is you have to teach this stuff first. The e-collar can be a great tool, but you have to know how to use it, and you have to use it on something the dog understands. Otherwise, if they're off leash running and you just push a button to try to correct them, they're gonna have no idea what's expected of them. So spend some time on that. If your dog is not great at come at this point, watch one of our other videos. I'll link one in the description. So watch that, master come, and then come back to this video. It's gonna make a lot more sense. It'll be way more fair to your dog, and the process will be a lot of fun. So now, let's talk about the stim function. I'm going to call the dog over again so he's just back in the scene. Dash, come. Good boy, buddy. Come on. So normally I like the dog in front of me. You could see he kind of skirted around to stay away from the horse. So I'll call him again. Dash, come. Sit. Good. Free. So I turned there to make it a little easier on the dog. He didn't want to have his back to the horse, which I can understand. I probably wouldn't want my back to him either. So I just made it a little bit easier on him in that moment. But the stim function, this is kind of a loaded thing in dog training. There's two very different ways to train. One is, they call this like low stim training. What they'll do is they'll call the dog to them as they're pushing the stim. When the dog starts coming, they'll release the stim, they'll praise him, and they'll have the dog sit. The other way would be using it in a very different, which is the way we do it. We use it as more of a correction if the dog hasn't listened. So the difference is you've obviously heard of positive reinforcement, but you might not have heard of all the quadrants. So there's positive reinforcement, there's positive punishment, negative reinforcement, negative punishment. Just real quick explanation. Those things, positive does not mean good and negative does not mean bad. They could be good, could be bad. It doesn't really mean that. Positive means you're adding a stimulus to the situation. Negative means you're taking a stimulus away. And then reinforcement means you're trying to reinforce a behavior, make it more likely to happen. And then punishment means you're trying to get rid of a behavior and make it less likely to happen. I heard someone sneaking up on me, so I was checking there. And like the dog, I don't want these horses behind me. So with that, Negative reinforcement training, what they're doing is they're calling the dog to them as they push the stim. And when the dog starts coming, negative means they're taking away the stimuli of the correction, or I'm sorry, the stimulus of the correction to reinforce the behavior of coming to them. We don't train that way. There's nothing terrible or bad about it. So if your trainer's doing that, like, I'm not saying that they're doing it wrong. It's just different. What we do is we call the dog to us, and we're not using the stim whatsoever. I'm using the vibration, which is a pager. It's a good thing. And then if the dog doesn't come, I would tell them no as I correct them on the stim. Okay, so very, very different. I'm pairing it with the word no. That makes it positive punishment. What that means is we're adding a stimulus, so the correction, in order to punish a behavior, the behavior of not coming to me. So you might hear that and think, well, what's the difference, right? Why does it really matter? The reason we do it this way is I want to empower the word no, and I want to really proof that so it means something. So now, imagine I call the dog, he doesn't come, and I tell him no if he doesn't come, and then I call him again and he does. Through time, when I say no, it means something, but I don't need the collar. So now let's say your dog is digging in the yard and you say no, they might actually care. Or they're like, someone comes to the door and they're jumping and barking. When you say no, they might actually care. So that's one of the reasons we do it this way. The big difference would be, or the big exception would be, if you're trying to get we call it a superstitious behavior. Let's say you're using an e-collar not for come, you're doing it just because your dog digs in the yard at the fence every single day. Sometimes people don't want the collar associated with them, so the dog associates it with digging. So the dog starts digging a hole, and you push a button on the collar to correct them for it, and the dog associates the act of digging with the correction. That's a wildly different way of training than what we're doing here. We're really working on the connection with the dog, so the dog understands it's me doing it, and when I say no, that's what gets them corrected, as opposed to some magical thing. So I'm going to call my dog again. Dash, come. Good boy. So he was a good distance away. Here he comes. Notice I'm turning to make it easier on him. Sit. Good job, buddy. Free. So there, when I call him to me, hey buddy, you can see he's excited. He's a little worked up about these horses here. And we're just spending some time around them today. It's a good confidence building exercise. As I call him again, here's the pager. Dash, come. I push the pager. Good boy. Sit. Good job, little buddy. Free. So as you're doing all of this, acclimation is key. So this video is mainly theory, of course, explaining how it is we do this. I mentioned earlier, you acclimate with treats to the vibration. For the stim function, I usually introduce it on a heel walk. And the reason for that is, let's say the dog didn't listen right now, and these collars, this goes from 0 to 100. Well, what do you do? What's your level, right? Like, how do you possibly know what it is? Hey bud, we introduced it on the walk. So what I'll do is I'll heel with the dog, and I'm walking with them, and if they get out of heel position, I'll start at like a 5, which is, you can't even feel it, and I'll give them a correction there if they're out of heel position and see if they notice it. And I slowly build up. I have a video showing this with a German Shepherd, this exact process, from start to finish. So if you haven't acclimated your dog yet, definitely watch that first. And once they're acclimated to the vibration and the stim function, you can use this anytime you want with training. I would suggest get out here, get outside, start in a long line to make sure you have some control in case your dog doesn't listen. But that is it. That's the theory of how we train a dog on a collar like this. If you have questions, reach out. We'd love to answer them for you.